Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 424 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week. Kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How's it going this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. Adjusting to daylight savings, this barbaric ritual that we still have.
Please, can we just end the absurdity of this? Yeah, it's thrown me off the last couple of days too, but hey, at least now it's light out a little bit later, which I guess is a win. But we got another co-host in Krim. Good morning, Krim. How are you today? Oh boy, does daylight savings like doubly wreck you because you're scheduled? Does this podcast feel like super duper early for you?
God, yeah. Oh yeah. My voice is still waking up. It's like 8 a.m., right? Like oh boy. But yes, I'm awake.
Oh well, good to see. I'm glad you're awake because we got a fun topic for today. We didn't have a ton of Magic news. We did have one thing we wanted to mention about MagicCons, which is kind of interesting, but we're going to dedicate pretty much the entire cast to talking about the modern ban list. We're always talking about Modern Horizons 2, how much it's influenced the format. So today we're going to do a deep dive through the modern ban list, see if we can get through the whole thing, which is actually pretty long, and see what cards we think are actually safe to come off the ban list, if any. So that's going to be the meat of our cast for today. Before we get into that, though, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you're tired of all the hassles that go into buy listing your cards, Card Conduit lets you skip them. You don't got to do all the typing, spend all the time, do all the work. With their curated service, you can send in as many cards as you want with buy list value of $1 or more and pay a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a little work, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. And no matter which one you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And right now, you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. And let's start real quick with the MagicCon news. So more MagicCons are coming. I think the next one is Minneapolis around when March of the Machines releases. So another month or two.
May 4th?
Is it May?
May 5th, yeah.
Ooh, are you going to that one, Krim? I don't think I'm going to Minneapolis. Are you doing that one though?
I applied. We'll see. I applied through the content creator program stuff. I'll see if Wizards will actually fly me out. If they will or do whatever, then sure.
But anyway, the big news for today is there's some really positive updates about MagicCon. We've been talking about some of the issues with MagicCon, with one of the biggest one being the expense. Like even with all you get out of a MagicCon, it just costs a lot of money to get into the event. And then if you want to do anything like playing the command zone or playing events, you got to spend even more money. So the cost is really, really high. But we got an update a few days ago, which is, I think, just massively positive. So piece of news number one, there's a new ticket. For $65, you get a weekend pass. You don't get the swag. Normally, if you buy another ticket, you get like some booster packs and all this stuff. You get one traditional foil Arcane Signet promo card and a badge for the weekend, but just for $65 for all 3 days. So that's one piece of news, a cheaper ticket. The other big news is Command Zone is now accessible to everyone. If you have a badge to get in for a day or for the weekend or whatever, you can go in the Command Zone if you want to. It's just first come, first serve. Everyone gets to play Magic together. So what do you guys think of that? I know the Command Zone thing is something we've talked about a ton, so I think everyone will agree that's positive. What about the $65 weekend pass? Is that cheap enough? Like, does this make this a cheap enough event? Hey, I see clapping.
Standing ovation. Standing ovation. For podcast listeners. What happened? Who infiltrated WotC? Did you do it, Seth?
I mean, we did talk about it, but yeah, I was surprised. Like, I'm not used to these super positive changes, but
$65 for a whole weekend. That's amazing.
Fair, right? That's a fair price to go play Magic all day.
Signet. I thought they would cut the promo from that, right? But you actually get the Arcane Signet as well. So that is totally worth $65 for 3 days of Command Zone access. Like, you basically get to play Commander the whole time.
Yeah.
What more?
I know.
Could you want? Like, is a hot dog gonna be like $500 inside? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's a
they just gave us free money.
It's a convention, so I'm sure it's going to be expensive, but still, like, that seems super fair to me. I know, like, in the old days, you could just go and play for free, like at a GP or whatever. But now that there's not big tournaments that are driving these events, and the main thing is just going to hang out and play Magic and see all the cool stuff, paying like $20 a day or something, $21.50 or whatever it ends up being, to like just have a place to play all day for a whole weekend, that seems super fair. Like if that's the cost of this, that seems like a huge win for the community. What do you think, Graham? Like, how big of a deal is this? Are we going to see even more people showing up at Magic Cons now because of this?
I think definitely, right? I mean, before, like, that was kind of like what I think everybody kind of like wanted and voiced before, right? Like, first off, a cheaper ticket, sure. And then, but on top of that, I thought it would have been like a 65, like a cheaper ticket, but you still had to pay the additional just to get in to the command zone. But they actually went and finally for like just undid all of that, which I don't know how we got there. Like Richard mentioned, I'm glad that we somehow did, even though, again, this should have been pretty easy, straightforward to figure out right at the beginning when you started Magic Cons. You should have known that this should have always been the way to go about it. But I'm glad they eventually got there. So this should probably be a bigger turnout for Magic Cons now.
I also saw, and this is not like super directly related, but the other big criticism of Philly was the VIP package not really being very worth it for people. And I think this is still kind of in progress, but I did see they're doing a lot more for VIP. There's like offsite parties they're doing multiple days of the event and like actually trying to give people more for buying the Black Lotus VIP ticket. So that seems like that's still in progress a little bit, but that's also trending in the right direction. So I don't know, does this mean Magic Cons are just good now? Like, if they're cheap enough that everyone can go, if everyone gets to play Magic in the command zone, and they're improving the VIP stuff for the whales, that kind of hits all the marks. Like, all of our complaints have more or less kind of been solved, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like what else is there left, right? I guess,
Don't worry. After a balance update, there's always complaining. We'll find a new way. Tune in next week as we figure out what we complain about. But it looks all positive. It looks exceptional, right? Like,
yeah.
Is this?
I mean,
is this set for all Magic Fest going forward, or is this just Minneapolis?
So I hope it's set for all.
I think the assumption
why
is
it
it's
just be Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think the assumption is it's for all of them, and that's the only one that's been announced so far is Minneapolis, so I guess we'll have to wait and see to be sure, but I don't think they can go back at this point. Like, it would be very hard to do all this and then just roll it back for the next one, so I'm assuming it's going to be for Vegas and all the future ones as well, which is pretty awesome. So, I mean, if you're someone who was on the fence about Magic Cons, worrying it was too expensive, worrying you wouldn't have a place to play, might be worth giving them another look if it's something you're interested in, because it seems like they really improved them with this announcement. So that's our MagicCon news. Thumbs up to WotC and Reed Pop or whoever's running like these events. Like, very good changes. Thank you so much. But we got a big topic to get to. We have the Modern Ban List, and if you've never really looked at the Modern Ban List, it is big. I want to say, I didn't count every card. It's got to be 40 plus cards. Like, there are a lot of cards on the Modern Ban List. So we're going to try to go through the ban list and figure out, can cards be unbanned? Can cards be unbanned? Should they stay banned? We're in a brave new world of Modern. We're in a world where Modern Horizons 2 is everywhere. The power levels. I was doing a video about Summer Bloom's banning, which was banned in 2016. And part of doing the video is I went back and actually read the ban announcement. And the ban announcement, it was so quaint. They were like, well, we have this rule in Modern that decks can't win before turn 4. And this deck, it wins before turn 4 pretty consistently. So we're going to ban Summer Bloom. That's not Modern anymore. Like, Modern at this point is no holds barred. Decks win very, very quickly. The power level is so much higher than even like 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm very curious to see what you guys think. How many of these cards can come off the ban list? So I guess we should probably jump right into it because we got a lot of cards to get through. And let's start with let's go in alphabetical order, I guess. First off, we have Ancient Den, which I guess might as well just be all the artifact lands. If you don't know these lands, they tap for a single color, they come into play untapped, and they are artifacts. These were printed in original Mirrodin. They've been banned since the start of the format. What do you guys think? What do you think, Richard? Can we unban these artifact lands?
Okay, wait. No. No way, right? People play the bad ones still today, right? And
You're talking about the Modern Masters ones?
Like the tapped ones, yeah. Or like
ones.
Darkseal Citadel, yeah.
Urza Saga exists, and as long as Urza Saga exists, as long as Affinity exists, like, you can't have your constructs being like literally 2020s or whatever. So I think this is safe. Opal is gone, right? Opal is gone.
Yeah, Opal's gone. We'll get to that one later.
But
so I think there's an argument they're okay. But we've gotten more and more artifact lands. We got the tap cycle. We've gotten like Treasure Vault. We got Darkseal Citadel. So there's several artifact lands now. The tapped ones have proven to be like somewhat playable, but not overpowered. We saw Affinity kind of make a resurgence, but it's still like a tier 2 deck in Modern. I would argue that adding more artifact lands actually could end up making the artifact decks worse, because you're going to be even more susceptible to a Stony Silence, to a Karn, to a Vandal Blast, or a Shatterstorm or something. So I'm not convinced that Affinity gets significantly better, because you're just going to get blown out even harder by sideboard cards if your mana base is just all these artifact lands. So I wouldn't say 100% safe to unban, but I'm close enough that I would give it a try. Like, I would give it a try, and I think there's a chance they'd be fine. But what do you think, Grim? Where are you at with these?
I think hold on, these are actually A-okay, right? In the format? I don't think these would do anything more than like just... Other than maybe, make the Affinity decks and Artifact decks actually, like, solid again. Right? Because, I don't know, I mean, I think they're fine. Am I wrong? Like, the power level of these Artifact decks don't...
Indomitable Creativity says destroy X target artifacts and or creatures. So you just chuck your land there. You don't even need to fetch or anything. But then right?
But then wouldn't you creativity into artifact lands instead of Archon of Cruelty or whatever? I think you might creativity into them too.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, we're safe. That one doesn't work.
So Richard's argument about Urza Saga is a good one. Like, Urza Saga would get even better.
What does this sounds really silly, but what does a 2020 do?
A lot.
I've lost to plenty of Urza Sagas in my days.
You've never
especially
died
once
to
they get the Shadow Sphere and trample and
you're sitting there trying to stop the hammer timers and you just die to like random dirty constructs coming out, right? Who would use it? Hammer time, Affinity, which is like
Hammer time, Affinity, various like Urza piles. Like, there's some Urza Thopter Sword decks, maybe Tesserator. I always want Tesserator to be a thing. It's probably not going to be a thing. Okay. No, I mean, Urza Thopter Sword exists. Like, that's like another tier 2 deck. Tesserator, that's more of like a long shot. Maybe it could become somewhat playable if you could find artifact lands.
Does Grinding Station want that?
Ooh, maybe Grinding Station combo. They probably play some number.
Maybe it's
Maybe that's the scarier part, is like not
without
Affinity.
Opal, this all sounds okay, right?
And you're playing lands that get blown up by Ancient Grudge and whatever. Like, all of a sudden you're turning your Abrade is a Stone Rain or a Sinkhole now. Like, there's a lot of risk, I think, to playing these lands. So unless you can really power up your deck with them, I don't think too many decks are just going to play it for value, or just like, oh, I'm not an artifact deck, but I'll play these to like slightly power up my Urza Saga. I think the risk might be higher than the reward. So, okay, here's what we got to do. Give me your final judgment on these. I think 3 options. No, definitely don't unban. I'm in the middle. Maybe give it a try, but it might not work out. Or yes, definitely safe to unban. Where are you with artifact lands?
Yes, safe to unban. Even the decks that we have mentioned here, I don't feel like it actually makes the format any worse.
Yeah, like it's safe.
It's pretty safe.
Even if constructs get slightly better, whatever, right? As long as you don't give Opal into this.
Yeah,
the Opal is the scary part, right? If you don't put the Mox Opal here, it's fine. So yeah.
But hold on. But then Kadaltha Red goes from like tier 5 to tier 4.
Yeah, it might win. That is one of my favorite budget decks. Well, actually, okay, let's go out of order a little bit, because this card has come up multiple times. Mox Opal, it's a literal Mox, except you need 3 artifacts for it to add mana. 0 mana, taps to add a mana, but you need 3 artifacts on the battlefield. For me, fast mana is probably what I want to see unban the least in Modern. I don't think we need the already really push decks doing their thing even faster. So for me, this is just like a hard no, non-starter. Either one of you got arguments for why this would be safe?
No. Like we don't need anything with the name Mox. Essentially, I think Mox Amber is like already kind of pushing it, but like Mox Opal is a big no, especially if we unban the artifact lands.
We play Springleaf Drum and we're very happy with it. Like Mox Opal is insane. I don't see a world where we need Mox Opal.
And I think Affinity's gotten enough better that it's a deck again. Like when Mox got banned, Affinity completely fell off, but then they got like Thought Monitor, they got the artifact lands, and if we unban the old artifact lands, I think Affinity will be doing just fine. Like it'll be good enough, but it's not going to be broken. So yeah, I think that's a pretty easy no. Speaking of artifacts that can add mana, sort of. Next up, a fairly recent banning, Arcum's Astrolabe, the random snow common. 1 mana, snow mana, ETB draws a card, pay 1, tap it, add a mana of any color. This was banned not that long ago, in part thanks to Yarion and just like 5 color piles being really, really good after Modern Horizons 2 came out. I don't know. Any reason this should be unbanned? Modern is still pretty 5 color piley when you have like creativity decks at the top of the format. You got a lot of people messing around trying to figure out how to make Atroxa good. You got 5 color Crashing Footfalls, although some of those decks can't really play it because you'll ruin the Cascade or ruin your creativity. But I think that mana is already good enough that it's not worth it. Although maybe the argument would be there's no Yarion anymore. And that was like its best friend. Like you play this and draws a card and then your Yarion's going to come down and draw another card. I guess that would be the one argument I could see for unbanning it. What do you guys think? Where are you at with Astrolabe?
Okay, so it's not just like it's only because the 5 color part, right? This is a 1 mana, like just like another artifact that could be looped like with Luris, right? Or something, but not anymore.
Yep.
And
both companions that it worked well with are gone now, so that is something.
Like I'm like, because it's not like does this go inside like the Omnath deck? No, right? Like the Omnath deck doesn't need this necessarily. So is this good anymore? I don't think it is. Like it's not bad, right? Like, but I mean, like, is it the offender that it once was? And I'm starting to think. Maybe not. I might be missing something though, because I don't know. Like it was way better when you had. What's the
like
problem?
basically cheats mana.
Right.
It's like a 5 color deck that you Blood Moon, and you're like, this sucks, right? Like Astrolabe did the same thing. Like anyone can play it, and then Blood Moon is kind of useless on top of just like random synergies with the companions and things like that. So I don't think this is like outrageously broken. I don't think it would warp our metagame, but it allows you to just ignore mana bases, which is fairly strong, right? I think I want Blood Moon to make a comeback to like if you see someone playing a 5 color pile, Blood Moon should hurt, and currently it does not hurt at all. And Astrolabe would just make it irrelevant. So I don't want Astrolabe coming back. I don't see any good for it. Although if it came back, probably nothing would happen because Blood Moon kind of sucks right now anyway.
Yeah, but it's a tough life for a Blood Moon player. I don't want to see even more 5 color piles. I think it's already easy to just like play like the Omnath decks are a good example of this, where you can just like play all the good cards together of all the colors of mana and just like build a very powerful deck that kind of ignores the color pile together. So I don't know. I could see an argument for it being safe, but I don't see what positive thing it adds to the format. Like, it improves 5 color decks, which I don't really want to see, and it's hard for me to imagine what good is this going to do, even if it was safe.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Like, it's like, I guess, what does it improve? Like, what does this do? What, like, by unbanning this, does it actually do anything? Like that improves the metagame. Right? Like,
it'd be sweet with Kadalthri Rebirth again.
Oh, yeah.
another cheap artifact
deck.
Boy,
Surely
we're gonna
could do
unban stuff until Kadalthri Rebirth is tier 1. I think that's our goal.
I think it's not just unbanning. I think new things have to be made for that card, that deck to be good. But I mean, like, yeah. Like, I don't know. I still okay. If it were a power level thing, I don't know if it's that bad of an unban. Like Richard already mentioned it. Blood Moon kind of isn't great already.
I'm going to say leave it banned. Like, I'm kind of in the middle. I can see where Crim's coming from, but I don't see enough upside. Like, maybe it's safe, but if it's not safe, we're going to see even more 5-color piles. And there's nothing that really makes me want it to be in the format. So I'm going to stay on the no side, but I can see some arguments for maybe thinking about it. But we have a huge list. We got to keep moving, or we're never going to get through this. We got a big one next. We have one of the cards that's maybe most talked about on the ban list, and that is Birthing Pod. Birthing Pod banned, oh my God, 2015, I want to say, somewhere around there. Thanks to its ability to combo off essentially for 4-ish mana. Is this card even scary anymore? Like, this is one of those cards where people like freak out about this so much, but I feel like so much of the ban list is built on that Summer Bloom thinking. They're like, oh, we want Modern to be a turn 4 format, and if decks are doing things faster than turn 4, that's a problem. That's just out the window now. Like, that's not the pace of Modern. We're dying to hammers on turn 2. Like, it's Primeval Titans are coming down and winning on turn 3. That's just not the world we live in. To me, Birthing Pod seems slow for Modern, and if you want to fill your deck with Birthing Pod combo pieces and take the risk that someone plays a card in the Great Creator and none of your cards work and you're playing all these bad 1-ofs, I think I'm okay with that. Like, what am I missing? Is this scarier than I think? Is there some reason this needs to stay banned?
Modern has already danced around a Birthing Pod-like effects. They keep printing all these things that are like Birthing Pod-esque, and they are obviously awful. So
Yep.
what's the worst that the real deal could do? Because I genuinely Modern hasn't been a format that like allows you to like live past turn 4 for quite some time. So I think this card doesn't do anything. This is extremely safe to unban. Like what is it? What
about
they
Yawgmoth?
unban this tomorrow.
Is it Yawgmoth like the most natural place for this creature-based
Yawgmoth doesn't
combo
need
that
it.
plays Eldritch Evolution and Chord? Like, would you replace
Eh,
any of
But
those with
Yawgmoth-
Pod?
But Yawgmoth doesn't need it. Like
It
that's the
doesn't.
thing.
But what if it takes it and like is twice as good?
Well,
Right?
no, that's the thing. But why? Like it's actually I feel.
Is it better than Chord and Eldritch?
No.
I actually think
Chord and Eldritch is better and allows you to like get around it. Like this card, first off, it is so clunky, right? Like it is clunky. If you're spending your 4 mana in your Yawgmoth deck, you're probably just gonna win or play Yawgmoth, right? Otherwise, Chord of Calling being an instant speed, obviously way better because of that, right? This is still activate only as a sorcery. And then on top of that, Eldritch Evolution, like there is an upside to just straight up like it being 3 mana at points, and like it adds the +2 like to your searching. I don't know. I feel like those cards are just strictly better. Like, why do I want Birthing Pod?
I actually don't think it would work in Yawgmoth very well, because if you look at a Yawgmoth deck list, it's pretty light on 3-drops to actually pod into a Yawg. Like, Grist
They
is your
mostly
main
play
3-drop, and maybe you got a couple of endurances.
Yeah.
So I think Eldritch Evolution might still be better, because you can trade your, like, Strangle Rootgeist or whatever up for a Yawgmoth.
Richard's
That said,
favorite.
I think people would build decks around it. Like, I think people would try to build the whole, like,
yes.
play my bot, sack a thing, untap it with Deceiver, Exarch, do my thing, eventually get a Kiki. But to me, that seems fine in current Modern. Like, maybe I'm just desensitized by dying to Primeval Titan on turn 3 and getting comboed off by, like, whatever Living End on turn 3, that if you want to try to Birthing Pod me, like, I guess. And there's so much better removal now. Like, not only is there Karn that just locks that, but there's, like, Solitudes. There's so many instant speed answers that every deck has that I think that this, I just don't think it's as scary anymore.
What if you keep potting into elementals? Is that
You mean
That actually
5?
sounds fun. Oh, if you want to like play my Risen Reef, draw a card, sack it, get a like Omnath, draw a card, sack it, get a Elishnorn, like a pool. I'd be down with that. That sounds fun and fair.
Yeah, that is hilariously fair in what is current Modern. So yeah, like this, there's no way. This card is, I mean, sure, play your fair mid-range card. This card, I feel like, is pretty bad. It's pretty, I don't know if it's, okay, it's maybe not, like, awful, but I think it's...
I don't think it's broken. Like, I don't think it's, like, something to be scared of. Like, it might be playable, but I don't think it's like, oh my god, the format's broken because we have Birthing Pod.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it actually playable? Like, is it actually good? Not like, can I play this if it were unbanned? Like, legally, yes, if it's unbanned. But, like, would you play this?
What was the Melira? Like, Melira combo was what? A turn... You need pod. So you would birds, pod. Nah, I don't think you would play that. That's, like, so bad.
Yeah.
That's why I ask. Like, you know, like, is it actually something you would play? Outside of it being like you're being of a pod enthusiast.
So I don't think pod is good, but we need to remember that you're not podding into whatever people used to pod into. You're podding into Modern Horizons 2 cards and like Modern Horizons 3 cards. So the real question is, would you be podding elementals, and, you know, would you be podding Ragavans or whatever? I don't know, right? Like, you wouldn't be podding the same targets.
Ragavan?
that is
your
a good point.
There is podded into Ragavan.
Is that good?
There's Ephemerate now, and like more effects. Still, all that stuff just sounds fair. It sounds so fair. Like, please play this against me. Like that sounds like we will have a fun game of very fair Modern.
No,
I don't know. I say
you
yes.
will die
fixes all, though.
you will die before you can pod into an elemental. Okay, like
so everyone
yes.
thumbs up.
Extremely, both 2 thumbs up. Yeah, unban.
All right, this one I think might be controversial. Blazing Shoal. Blazing Shoal got banned. First update after the first Modern Pro Tour back in 2011, because there was an Infect deck that was winning on turn 2 by pitching Progenitus and Dragonstorm to Blazing Shoal to one-shot people with Infect. To me, the idea that this needs to be banned is absolutely ridiculous. Like, Infect has gotten so many better pump spells. There is zero chance that anyone is going to take their Infect deck and fill it with uncastable Progenituses to be able to try to kill people. They're just going to cast Scale Up. They're going to cast Become Immense and win on turn 2 anyway without playing the bad cards. So I think power level wise, I see this as like one of the safest cards to unban. Although, if you want to argue that it doesn't do anything positive to the format, I will hear you out, because all it really does is try to one-shot kill people, so there's not any, like, super fair uses to it, but I don't know. What do you think? Am I off base here, or is this card just bad in 2023?
This card is actually bad, right? Like, the removal has gotten better, right? So we just mentioned the free elemental spells. Yep. Can you imagine just casting this, exiling this, that you exile the card that this unplayable card that you've loaded your deck up with? And then it just gets solituded or something like that. It's just
force
like,
negation.
Yeah, this is so bad. And then, like, not only that, you've gassed out, you've gone down a card, and now, and you're playing an Infect deck. So, like, it's pretty bad, dude. Like, I feel like this is the one where if my opponent, like, has interaction, I concede. I concede, right? Like, and I don't just concede game 1. I pick up games 2, and I don't even assume there's a game 3. I
Prim's
say thank
dropping
you for playing.
from the tournament. Yeah,
I'm 0-1 dropping right now. I'm 0-1 dropping from this FNM. Like, I'm going home. Like,
what are we missing, Richard?
There's a 4-mana pump spell in Modern, right? I can't remember what's in Modern, in fact, and what's in Legacy, in fact. But you can just scale up pump spell and kill someone, right?
I die on turn 2 to Infect all the time.
Like if you just YOLO it and like go all in, that's still a 2-card combo, but on cards with your same colors, because this is red, like who's playing red, right? But so the other cards are actually in your colors, and they actually work in an incremental manner. So yeah, no one would ever play Blazing Shoal unless was it only Infect combo? Was there another combo you can do with this?
So it's only Infect that it ever really saw competitive play in, although that's what I was thinking too. Like, if it's broken, it's probably going to be broken in some other deck we're not thinking of, but I don't know what that would be. It's still a pump spell. It would still be trying to one-shot people. It's hard for me to imagine there'd be another deck that does that better than Infect.
It would be funny to play it in a fair manner against people that don't expect it. You're like, turn 1 mana dork. And then they're like, what? And then you just like Blazing Shoal them, they die. And you're like, what? Like, what? As soon as you play Blazing, everyone's on the alert, right? But you're like, Blazing Shoal out of nowhere? Like, maybe it'd be good
Blazing
for
Shoal
one
and like
meme tournament. And then everyone knows.
The one thing is that people, like, Infect decks also added, like, a card, a tech to stop Solitude and Fury. It's Phyrexian Crusader. which has protection from red, by the way.
Yep. So you can't even target it with your Blazing Shoal.
So not only have you, like, again, also you are a deck that plays, 20 lands, a bunch of protection spells, and, like, about 18 to, like, 20 creatures, or maybe even a little less, right? But, like, now you've also got to load in what is the correct number of Progenitus cards, like that you'd have to load this deck up with, like another 8 to then turn this card on. So, oh my god, this would be so bad.
So then you play Mirror Crusader, okay? You play white. You have pro green and black. You can Blazing Shoal it now. Do the same thing.
Wait, does it have double strike?
It has double strike.
If it has double strike, it could actually.
Yeah, so
but
it's
that would
actually
still be enough to kill.
Yeah.
So
okay, maybe there'd be another deck they could play.
Yeah, but that's a meme deck. But yeah, this
still, that's
this needs to be unbanned.
All right, next, Bridge from Below, banned during the Hogak era, and this is a card that I don't see the point in unbanning it. Would it do anything right now? Probably not. But whenever it does do something, that something is just incredibly broken. So I feel like you unban it and it just sits around for like a couple years until they print the right thing. And then you got to ban it again because it's just like over the top. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there any way this would actually, like, I think it'd be safe right now. Would it ever be safe long term? Or is it just like waiting for that piece to come along and break it again? Or maybe you should just unban it if it's not broken immediately. Maybe and ban it again in the future if you need to.
I think this is a card. I think this card should stay on the ban list because if it isn't broken now, sure. But that's not how it's always going to stay, right? There's always things that are doing some kind of weird graveyard stuff, right? And weird graveyard stuff, right? Like every set, every new thing, there's always that one person, Dredge has got a new toy, right? So, like, if that's the case, just leave this. Even if it itself isn't broken, you know something somewhere down the line, something obnoxious will happen. Although, even with that, they would have to, what does the Ragavan of, like, Dredge look like? Because I don't feel like there's anything. Is it Hogak?
What?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we can tell if Hogak is still broken, but why does no one yearn or pine for graveyard decks? You know, there's no viable graveyard deck in Modern right now.
There is.
What if we bring back Bridge from Below to bring back the graveyard decks?
But there is a graveyard deck, right? Well,
I mean, there's a lot of decks that use the graveyard, but there's not like a Dredge style. A Dredge, like Yawgmoth uses a graveyard, Murktide uses a graveyard, a Grinding Station decks use a graveyard.
I guess Living Death uses the graveyard.
Living Death.
But it's not the same.
It's not Dredge.
That fair Dredge way, you know?
I'm not playing the same game as you, so good luck. Hopefully you have a Leyline of the Void play pattern.
I mean, to be honest with you, I do kind of want Dredge to come back, just so then I like, no one will make that joke. You could be playing Dredge. It's like, no, I am playing Dredge, and you should fear it. Like, I want something that like makes it so Dredge isn't a meme, just when people say that joke. But other than that, I don't know. I mean,
I don't want Dredge to come back. I say leave it. I don't think it's healthy long term. Like, it'd probably be fine right now. It does die to graveyard hate, but I've never played against a Bridge from Below deck that I was like, wow, this was super fun. At least with like Birthing Pod, even if it's like good, I could imagine enjoying losing to it. I never like losing to Bridge decks. Like, it's just like such a miserable play pattern.
I think the worst thing I remember playing against was a slow pod player. Like, actually, no. Well, all right, you do your thing, but like that would be it. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. Although playing against a pod player that takes 5,000 years to do their podding is.
So while we're talking about graveyard decks, we might as well jump right to two other big graveyard pieces that are actually connected to this deck, which is, first off, Golgari Grave Troll, the biggest dredger that was actually, I think, one of maybe the only card in Modern that was unbanned, banned, unbanned, and then banned. Like, it was originally legal, banned, then got unbanned, and then immediately banned again afterwards. And then we mentioned this one a minute ago as well. Hogak Arisen Necropolis, the monster from the first Modern Horizon set, just winning games on turn 2, making people play Leyline of the Voids in their main deck. I guess I could see an argument for Grave Troll, even though we already tried that once and had to ban it again. So maybe it's the 2 strikes and you're out policy. Hogak, there's no chance. Like,
wait. I was gonna say, is Hogak fine now because we have Solitude? The problem is you couldn't get rid of Hogak, right? And it was like a big you would remove it.
No,
and then like they would just cast again. You're like, great, but now you can like exile it with Solitude.
No, hold on. It wasn't. No, that wasn't the issue before. You still had Path to Exile. You still had ways to get rid of it. It was just that at that point, Hogak, and along with the rest of its shell, was absurdly efficient. Like, yes, you have stopped Hogak, but have you stopped my 4 amalgams or whatever, prized amalgams, and everything else along with it? Like, yeah, Hogak was the most powerful thing on the board, sure. But, like, it wasn't like we didn't have removal. However, Golgari Grave Troll, is that like Magic's bad boy? The one that just gets, like, you know, like just keeps getting thrown back
dies
in.
For other people's sins. It just dredges one more.
So he's been framed. He's been framed, is what you're saying. This is MTG's bad boy, Golgari Grave Troll.
I mean, I think we're forgetting how busted Hogak was. Like, even suggesting it would be okay,
but
like
not
that
Hogak,
was
right? The deck was just Dredge was broken, right? It had everything. Everything we just listed was in the same deck, right?
But doesn't that just happen again? I get, like, so Bridge from Below got banned and Hogak was still very good. So we know it can still be good without Bridge from Below. I tend to think it's
Grave Troll. Don't they just sub in, what is it, the Dredge 6 or Dredge 5?
Yeah,
it's like your Stinkweed Imp dredges one more or something. Like, I honestly think Grave Troll, with how bad Dredge is right now, would probably be fine. Like, that 1 extra Dredge. I guess on the other end, you're replacing your worst Dredger with it, so you get to play Stinkweed and Grave Troll, and you're, whatever, losing Golgari Thug or like a Dredge 4 or something, but still, I don't know. Dredge is far enough down in the meta that I wouldn't complain if they unbanned it. Hogak, though, I think we would go right back to... Maybe it's slightly worse because of Solitude or whatever, but I still think we're back to it just being the best deck in the format and people main deck leylining, and that deck was historically dominant. Like, people were playing 4 main deck Leyline of the Voids, and it was still the best deck in the format.
Playing 4 main deck Leylines at that time.
And you'd still lose to it. Like, that deck was so ridiculous.
Don't you remember the good old days of good? So before Bridge and Hogak, and people played Dredge, but it was like fair. They would like get prized amalgams, 3/3s at ETB tap. They would hit you with like creeping chill or whatever, right? Like the bird spell, and they would hit you with like 1/1s, like Narcomoebas and stuff. Like that was fun Dredge, right? So you just need to keep Bridge out of the format, and I think you're good to go. And I would argue that Dredge like probably really sucks, like with Ren and 6s running around and elementals and stuff. Like, what are 3/3s that ETB tap's gonna do? You can't they used to outgrind everyone. You're not gonna outgrind Omnath with this Dredge pile, right? So I think you can unban Grave Troll and maybe even Hogak, but keep Bridge. Like, it was the combo with Hogak and Bridge that milled people out that was like really scary. So keep those under wraps and then let Dredge try to creep and chill people and play 3/3s or whatever, right? Like, let them try it. It's not that bad.
Oh, I mean, I'm with you on Grave Troll. I'd be fine with that being unbanned. Hard no on Hogak, though. Like, I think that brings us right back to a very dark place in Modern's history.
I'm on a no.
You just need some therapy, Seth.
Probably. That's probably true.
Still no. I actually don't even think Grave Troll can be unbanned. Actually, as I think about it,
there's like actually no Dredge payoff right now.
There's no Dredge payoff, but like when there finally is, like Grave Troll is going to be the biggest offender. It's because of just what Dredge is and how it plays. It's like kind of like absurd. So I actually don't think, for the sake of like the health of I guess whatever health is left of the modern format, I don't think that Grave Troll should come unbanned. It's a little bit like Bridge from Below. It may not be good now, but whenever there is a deck that can utilize it, it's going right back on the ban list.
It's rotated with Modern Horizons. Modern Horizons comes in and out of the format.
All right, we're gonna our next card. We're gonna move on to our next card, and we're gonna do a little fast mana lightning round here, I think, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards I have that I would consider to all be fast mana cards. As I stated before, I'm kind of on the just like leave the fast mana on the ban list train, but I want to see if any of these cards y'all would be in favor of unbanning. So first off, Chrome Mox. It's a Mox, but you gotta exile a card from your hand. No?
No.
How about Cloud Post? Legacy Tron, essentially. Tron, but it makes even more mana if you can 2-drop Cloud Post and Glimmer Post.
Does this fix Tron?
Sure, actually.
I think it's better Tron. It's better Tron.
It is better
slightly
Tron.
better Tron.
But yeah,
Tron's not that dominant
Tron
right
sucks.
now.
I hate Tron, so I'll be the first to tell you that. Like God, I hate Tron. But yeah, no, that's fine. Sure.
There's Blood Moon, there's Beseiju, there's a lot of answers now. Out of all the cards on the fast mana list, that's the one I'm and I hate Tron more than any deck in Magic, and that's the card I'm closest to being okay with. All right, KCI, Crack Clan Ironworks,
No.
infamous egg
No,
combo
God, no.
piece.
Please,
oh,
Please no.
no one
God,
wants to sit
no.
through that.
God,
No
I went
one
through a
wants
whole GP of this. Oh my God, no.
Wasn't that the infamous like Kibler writing F6 on a piece of
Yes.
paper and walking away from the table during like the
Eggs.
top 8 of a tournament? Yeah. All right. Seething Song, one of the banned modern rituals. Also Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame and Seething Song. Seething Song, 3 mana makes 5. Rite of Flame, 1 mana makes 2, except it upgrades based on the graveyard.
No on Rite of Flame.
Mhm.
Seething Song, maybe.
Ooh.
Give me a storm
Storm?
piece. Give me a storm piece. And the problem is like creativity will just take it and wreck your fate. Like someone else will take these pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh
But-
yeah, you're right.
Like, but I don't know when
Storm
they
could-
actually do it. I don't know. But I'm thinking like the old school storm decks, like they just don't see play anymore. So bringing
Storm
them
could use
back,
help.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't know what it needs help with without like breaking the format somewhere else. Like if you just seething song into something else and then break the format. So fast mana is always scary.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same spot. Like I wouldn't mind Storm getting better, but I think Seething Song or Rite of Flame would have implications in other places that are probably not good, like Underworld Reach combos and so forth. Probably get pretty scary if they can just keep looping rituals from the graveyard. Simian Spirit Guide, the good monkey,
No.
my favorite
Why
monkey.
did it get banned again? What was the final straw? What was
That got
winning?
banned because of turn 1 cascading into Tibble, the backside of Tibble. That
Tibble.
was when it finally met its end.
Yeah,
I want to play
too
Blood
strong.
Moon on
no.
turn 1. I want to play Blood Moon on
Still
turn
no.
1 though. Yeah, I mean if Simian Spirit Guide can't come off the ban list, I think none of the other ones can because it is the
Yeah.
weakest of the bunch. Summer Bloom, not traditional fast mana, but in Amulet Titan, it makes like 6 mana on turn 2 or something because of the bounce lands and amulets. Amulet Titan's doing just fine. It is arguably tier 1 right now, at least like a high tier 2. It does not need this card.
Yeah. I was gonna say, why does it need to be even better? Right? Like,
yeah, no.
like, no. This is a big no.
All right, so I think we're all mostly in agreement. Fast mana, maybe minus Cloud Post, should stay out of the format. Richard, this one's interesting. You love your Thespian Stage decks. Do we want Thespian Stage to combo in Modern with Dark Depths?
I don't think anyone cares about that. I think we should. Let's do it. Like it's gonna eat a solitude, right? Like it's not.
It is gonna.
Well,
die.
that's 20 life, right? Like I guess like I don't know how your deck was winning, but like that's like a whole nother game of Magic, right? like
I mean,
if it really gets bad, we can bring back Lingering Souls, okay? Like,
oh, dude, that's
like it takes. It's like turn 4. You're playing like these dirty lands, and I don't think it's that scary. I think we can bring back Dark Depths combo. Wait, do we have the Hex
Ooh.
Mage as well? Is
Ooh,
that
Yeah.
we
modern?
do, yeah. Hex Mage is still in
why,
Modern.
why would that not be?
I feel if you're trying to make a 20/20 and smacking someone in the air with it, I think that's fine. And it takes so long. Like I'm more scared of like a Murktide region or something, right? So
I I still tend to lean towards no. I don't know if we want another Murktide Regent. Like, do we want, like, you can do it turn 2 pretty consistently, or turn 3, and decks that are built around it are usually going to be able to recur it from the graveyard, so it's not like, oh, I solituded the 2020, life is good now. It's like, oh, life is good for a couple of turns until they loam it back to their hand and they do this whole thing again. I don't know. I just don't think it's a very fun play pattern. The, like, do you have the exile-based or bounce-based removal on turn 2, or are you dead? Like,
isn't that all Modern, Seth?
But do
you have removal for the monkey on turn 1? Do you have the counter spell for the creativity? Do you have the graveyard hate for whatever?
You can push and bolt the monkey, right?
Hammer might be the best comparison. Like, if we can deal with turn 2, like, hammer kills, maybe Dark Depths is fine.
You can chop the Merit Lodge, right? If you have a birds, like...
Well, you gotta have a flyer.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, Teferi answers it, like, Brazen Borrower answers it. There is kind of a lot of things that incidentally... Prismatic Ending, March of the Worldly Light. There are a lot of things that answer it. Good. I'll go in the middle. I'll go in the, like, we can try it, but I'm still not fully comfortable with it.
You could also Blood Moon it,
I would
right?
try it.
Like,
yeah,
you can.
Sure.
Sure, but
you can Besage
right
this
now.
combo before it happens. Like, you have lots of things.
Yeah, you could also Besage you this. Actually, yeah, you know what? Because of the Besage yous and everything that is now existing. Yeah, probably. It's actually, you know what? Yeah. I've changed my mind.
What about the other? You can rent in 6 Merit Lodges forever if you needed. Is that the problem?
I mean, remember, all these things exist in Legacy, and Dark Depths is still a good deck. And all these answers exist there as well.
Is Dark Depths actually a good deck in Legacy? Like lands? Or...
I mean, it got worse. It got worse with the pre-banning meta, with Initiative in that meta. But before that, it was like a legit top tier deck. So we'll see. Now that we've had the most recent bannings, maybe it'll rise up again. But yeah, it got hurt by the current meta. All right, we gotta save some time for this one, because this one I think might be a big one. Deathrite Shaman. Richard, you're a Jund player. Don't you remember the glory days of Jund? The time when Jund was literally at its peak in Modern right after Deathrite came out?
Okay, so if we were going to unban Deathrite Shaman and say you can only play it with Tarmogoyf, then you can 100% unban this card. If we play it with things like Yawgmoth and Omnath, then we need to think.
I'm going to argue.
Why does this make those decks... Like, what is it about this card? Is it because the mana fixing?
Well, it's a birds that also is graveyard hate, and then gives you reach and like life gain to stabilize. So it lets you grind really hard, right?
I kind of think that it's okay, to be honest.
It might be okay. Is it okay?
Like it seems kind of, as I read it, it just feels fair.
Yawgmoth gets
better. Jund maybe makes a comeback. Maybe some of the Omnath piles would play it. We'll see. Like, black is the color those decks are least likely to play, and you would lose Kahira if you wanted to play it in one of the elemental builds, but those decks might play it. Obviously, elves, anything like that. It is a mono black mana dork, which is also kind of unique because of the hybrid mana. So Dredgevine, graveyard decks like that would play it. I actually think it might be the hero of the format. Like, it keeps the graveyard clean, so it's like incidentally hating on stuff like Murktide. It's actually hating on the Yawgmoth combo because you can exile their combo piece as they go through the loop. The life gain is fine. For me, it really comes back to Ragavan, though. Like, if we live in a world where Ragavan's okay, is this really not okay? Like, aren't they of a comparable power level?
Yeah. And actually, even more, I just feel like this card, I can let you untap with this.
It's fair. It's really good at grinding, but I would like to see more grinding in Modern. Like, if you want to try to grind me out on turn 10,
grinding in we have it's so grindy right now.
Is it?
I feel like Modern's all like, crushing footfalls on.
Has it changed in the last couple months? It was Omnath grind fest.
Omnath is still there. It is still there. I don't know. I guess my impression of Modern is it's super fast. And like, if you want to try to slowly generate value with this, I'm kind of okay with it. If it brings back Jund, that would be a good thing, I think, to have more of that
Jund is
play
beyond
style.
saving. But I'm afraid of like it's better than Ragavan because late game it still has purposes, right? And it does things besides like go aggro. Like if you need to stabilize, you need to gain like a couple life. Like it lets you gain life. It lets you remove graveyards, right? It helps you against Murktide and Footfalls. It's a mana dork on top of that, right? It's a 1/2 blocker. It trades with Ragavan. It's really good.
Right.
But is it too good? Maybe not. Like, but it will definitely see play though, right? It won't.
It'll no doubt it'll see play, and it will be very good. I guess that I think my biggest
is that bad?
My biggest,
like,
I don't know if that's.
But what if it's played in every deck?
That would be bad. I think my argument for it is when it was banned, like there were not other good 1-drops. Like when it was banned, it was probably like Goblin Guide, and then I don't even know what the next best 1-drop was. Like there just wasn't a lot of maybe a Birds of Paradise or something, but there wasn't the power there is today. Today we got Ragavan and Esper Sentinel and Dragon Rage Channeler. The list of like really good 1-drops is pretty long. So even if this did end up being like the best of them, I don't think it's like an outlier anymore. I think when it was banned in 2015, it was like Deathrite way up here and then everything else way below. I think this might be at the head of the pack of the 1-drops, but I don't think it's that far ahead of the rest of the field. So I would like to give it a try. I would like to try it. If it ends up being everywhere, then you can, do the Grave Troll thing and reban it. But the fact that it's fair-ish, like that kind of makes me want to give it a shot.
Yeah, like it just feels fair. Like
fair.
It's Jace was, I mean, not Jace. Snapcaster was good. Like you know what I mean? Like things like that were good way back then. So that's just like not the case anymore, right? Like so, I don't.
I'm willing to try.
I don't. Yeah, let it run wild.
Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's might as well. I mean, the thing is, you can always reban stuff. So.
I think your metagame will totally shift around, and it will warp the metagame, but maybe into a metagame that's still fine.
Yeah,
right. But the metagame will definitely look different once you unleash Deathrite Shaman. I think it's the most impactful card we've talked about so far, outside of like the broken combos.
I think that is probably true. I think this would see the most play in the most amount of decks, which maybe that's not good.
Yeah, well, maybe it's fine. Like it just shifts the meta around as long as it's not like,
Honestly, I would like to see a non-Modern Horizons 2 card be the best card in the format. If Deathrite Shaman comes in and it's like at the list of most played, I think I would accept that for a while, just because it's
Deathrite Shaman's
it feels authentic at this point. Yeah. All right, easy one maybe. The 2 Delve cards, Dig Through Time, Treasure Cruise. They're a little bit different. Treasure Cruise more of a Delver, like aggro card, giving you a Ancestral Recall. Dig Through Time, more of a control card, but both were pretty dominant in Modern, thanks to fetch lands mostly, and just how easy it is to fill the graveyard. Where are you guys at with these? Is there any chance they should be unbanned?
Not with Dragon Rage Channeler. It was bad enough with fetch lands. Now it's like
they just go into the best deck in the format, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't Murktide just like play some of these? Like that seems like a big argument against them. What do you think, Krim? I saw your face. It seems like you're thinking about it at least. Krim's the wheels are turning.
I'm like curious of like, yeah, there's the part of me that's played with it in Modern, right? And it never worked out. It was always busted, right?
Yep.
Dig Through Time, busted because like at a point it was with Splinter Twin. Right?
Yep.
If I like so
Splinter Twin and Delver, I think, were really dominant during that era. They didn't last very long before they got banned, honestly. I think Dig would be the safer of the two. Like if you had to pick one, I would lean towards Dig.
I you know what? Maybe, but like you got to remember that like now with how good like card potency is, picking the 2 cards that I want off of my top like 8 or whatever, 8 cards, by the way, is probably better, or top 7 cards, is probably better than a blind 3 cards, right?
Yeah, that might be true. Digging 7 cards deep is very powerful, and it's instant speed, so that is like you leave up your mana and do your control thing and then take advantage of it or find your combo pieces. They're kind of okay-ish in Pioneer. It's funny how different this list would look if fetches weren't a thing. Yeah. Like, if there were no fetches, Deathrite Shaman's fine. The Delve spells are fine. Like, those Should we ban fetches? Like, is that the solution?
No, you can't
ban fetches, unban the delve cards.
You cannot ban the fetch lands. That's like the main reason why you reprinted. You had Modern Masters 1 through whatever, right? But like, yeah, actually, you know, I feel like they cause too many problems to unban, right? Even if they were like temporarily healthy, they cause too many problems to unban. You got to leave those on the list.
They are 2 mana and 1 mana effectively. You cannot have like Ancestral Recall in the format. Like the downside of like not having enough graveyard is like never actually there. So yeah, and it's just way too easy to fill the graveyard in 2023. So no.
Oh
no.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think everyone's a no on those. Wow, we're not gonna make it through this whole list. This might be a 2-parter. This might have to be a 2-part podcast. We still have so many cards to go. But I think we can get through a couple more. Next up, Dread Return. I actually think Dread Return without Bridge.
Are you unbanning the other dredge cards we talked about?
Yeah, like
which one?
as it is, this is fine.
In the current format, it would be fine. If we do unban Grave Troll or Bridge or Hogak or some number of those, then it becomes scary. I guess it would make like Oops All Spells way better. That's kind of the legacy Oops All Spells skills. You mill your deck, you get the Narcomoebos, flash it back, get your Thassa's Oracle, win the game. Still very graveyard dependent though.
Yeah. So you're saying you extremely fold to what you already folded to.
You still, yeah, you still lose to the stuff that you lose to anyway. I think it'd be fine.
What
Yeah,
about
it'd be fine,
Yawgmoth?
right?
Everything's on Yawgmoth. Does Yawgmoth play this in any way?
Again,
I would be
It just makes your deck
surprised.
worse.
No.
Yeah.
You can
I
build
don't think
yourself
it's
with
worth
Grist, right? Just random stuff in the graveyard. And you just flash this thing back.
I mean, what about like Atraxa decks? Like we have seen Reanimator on the upswing thanks to Atraxa, but I guess you'd rather Goryo's Vengeance or Unburial Rights exists. Like
I don't know if anyone
an actual dredge deck. I think too.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's like Atraxa's body is why we're Atraxa's value is why we're playing it, right? So
yes, assuming we're keeping the other dredge cards on the ban list.
If it were the format that it is right now, then yes.
I think if you're keeping the other card, you got like this is just a ticking time bomb, right? Like, because essentially there are enough cards that if you just mill enough, you get a free creature, right? Because you'll get like dirty creatures back, and then you sack them and you dread return. And if we're scared of like just random graveyard shenanigans, I think you need to be afraid of dread return.
You know what? True, actually, for the same reasons why I then never actually, you changed my mind, because the same reasons why I Bridge from Below, right? Like, not good now.
It might not be broken now, but once it is good, it's going to be really good, too good probably.
Then okay, So I would leave it. I would leave it on the ban list.
Yeah, no upside. Oh boy, another controversial one. Ayavugan. This is like the Hogak before Hogak. We had Eldrazi winner. It broke the format.
I think we bring it
but
back.
Eldrazi's not even like good now. I haven't seen.
It's not the point. The point is it would be good if this were
are you gonna
available.
cast what are those mimic things called? Like, you're really gonna do this in 2023?
Get them. Metallic Mimic them.
Do you think that if I Metallic Mimicked and all of that nonsense,
Wait, it's not Metallic. That's a Lord.
Or sorry, whatever, the Eldrazi Mimic?
Yeah, the Eldrazi thing.
Yep.
Like
is Thought Not Seer and Reality Smasher?
How about a ton of them? For free, like, dude, no.
Are you still beating Omnath or Murktide with that? That's my question. I guess you can block Ragavan profitably now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you definitely are. Like, no, dude. I don't know if I can. Maybe it's because this is still fresh enough for me to remember Eldrazi winner. It was so bad that I played Eldrazi, right? Like.
How
like,
fast
that's
do
how
they
bad
actually
it was.
win? It's not that fast. It's just fair magic.
Dude, no, it's not. Do not say that it is just fair magic. Get out of here with that garbage. That is no way. This is just
Wait,
fair
what was the
magic.
other Ayavugan thing? Tron, right? You would use this to...
Yeah.
What would you fetch
So
with Tron?
Oh, I don't know. Sunring Titan, Worm Coil. Like, you only get
Wait, that's a long
creatures, so
time
you can-
ago. We didn't fetch, like... No, did we fetch... No, Ulamog. You used to get Ulamog.
Was it
Yeah.
Ulamog?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Ulamog was around then. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm actually kind of like on the fence. I don't know if I want Eldrazi to come back, but it is true that Eldrazi is pretty bad right now. They're not.
Okay.
They're not even tier 2, I don't think, at the moment. Eldrazi is like tier 3. But would they just shoot up to tier 1 again and be like super miserable? Maybe.
You know what? Okay, there's two sides of that coin. Where if this got unbanned, you would have the games with Ayavugan, where it would feel unbeatable and miserable, and then the whole, whatever Eldrazi is right now. So I guess if it goes from completely unplayable to like Eldrazi winner, I guess that averages out to about like a B.
Yeah.
We have Boseiju now, right? And you always have Blood Moon.
But what if you don't? That's what I mean. Like, as in, like, if it is not in your hand, it could be
Those
in your
decks-
75.
Those decks could do some scary things, just like dumping their hand so quickly thanks to Ayavugan.
Right.
I think I'd rather leave it banned. Like I it's closer than
Is
it
it any
used to be.
scarier
Like,
than Hammer Time killing you? Like, I don't know, right? Like, is it any
yeah.
scarier?
Okay, maybe
Like
it's not
you just cast
scarier
2
than
spells
Hammer
and your
Time.
Ledger Shredder blocks all of the deck, right?
But wait, what
it
if
maxed out at 5/5, right? So you just rip off a couple spells and you stonewall this whole Eldrazi. What are they gonna cast? Dismember? Like, what are they gonna do?
there
Yeah.
there was a difference because we also had Simian Spirit Guide.
that is
That's in
true.
the
So
spirit
you're
guide.
losing a
Like-
source of fast mana.
Right, because then that would allow some silly turn 1s, right, as well. Like, potentially, I think. Or, no, it
Yep.
doesn't matter. Because, yeah, it was some silly turn 1s. Back then, Chalice on 1 wrecked people. So, maybe it's...
Chalice good.
And you get the late game value of tutoring things up. Like you get the explosive start, and then if things go wrong and the game goes long, this is just like, oh, tutor something up every turn.
I don't know what going long meant, because even playing the deck, I don't think it ever went long. You just died
Yeah,
like
you just-
instantly, right? Like, so...
I think creatures now are good enough. Like, you can just block. So I'll teach you the
You can
one
just
the
block
one
a
matchup
5/5
that Jund
trample?
has that's like somewhat decent, and you get the right pieces as Eldrazi, because you just get a 7/8 Tarmogoyf and their game is over. Like, they cannot punch through, and you just sit there. You're like, what do you got to do, right? And we have like Murktides, we have Ledger Shredders, we
Richard,
have like Fury, like we have big things like Crashing Footfalls. Will like, wait. Do they have big creatures?
And-
no, they don't. Crashing Football is another deck that you get a 5/6 Tarmogoyf and you win.
They're done, yeah.
But
The
I
one
think
thing-
creatures are big enough that you're not scared of Thought Knots. Like 4/4, like that's worse than a Tarmogoyf, boys. Like it's a 4/4, right? It's not that scary.
And it is true that Eldrazi have not improved. Like, we have not got any more Eldrazi. You're still playing the same Eldrazi as during Eldrazi Winter, when the rest of the format has gotten way better.
Reality Shaper or whatever into whatever
Matter
endless
Shaper, yeah.
one or whatever, right? Like, yeah, right? Like, that was the other draws, right?
Those are the draws that were just absolutely nuts. But, like, at the same time, I guess Reality Smasher only caring that if it's targeted by a spell means that, like, your elementals, like Solitude, are
you
even
can-
better.
It still gets got, yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even realize
Actually,
that.
maybe it would be fine. All right, I think you've convinced me, Richard, to
has
try
be
it.
become the target of a spell, right?
Yeah, so
but not
Solitude can
abilities.
exile it for free. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to discard.
But no.
Huh.
Hold on. No. Like, Reality Smasher was not what I was afraid of, right? Like, like
Wait, what are we
Reality
scared of then?
Smasher was
Thought
like
Knot
it was the Eldrazi mimics, the endless ones, the Thought Knot Seers, all of that, like, coming down so cheap. And
I'm not
then,
sure. Are people going to go back to that, though? Can you really play Eldrazi Mimic in 2023? Like, even if it's free?
It gets
like,
red
is
and
that-
sixth.
It might get Ren and Sixth, but, like, if it's a Ren and Six matchup, you just play as many of those as you can, and then you just, like, drop an endless one for 2. That's still fine, right? Like, I don't know.
Is
I
Mimic until your next turn or end of? What does Mimic even say on it?
I
It's-
actually... I
It's
think
end of turn, I believe.
End of
Yeah,
turn. Never
okay.
mind. Yeah, okay. So, but you know what? That's fine, because, like, Eldrazi Mimic does what? Does it copy everything? It's been so long.
It's just its
the
power
next
and
creature
toughness.
you
Yeah.
play, it gets its power and toughness.
I mean,
So you
I
can
don't
get
know.
really explosive starts. You could get off to super explosive starts, but so can Hammer Time, and so can like Kadoltha Rebirth. You ever seen a Kadoltha Rebirth deck? How many 1/1s they get?
Right. we need to stop with that. Okay. Maybe no. Like
We have the
still...
Cascade decks, right? You just play some Durley, they just cascade, and then you're done, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just still scarred. I don't know. I can't bring myself to say
Like a
let's
4/4
unban.
isn't good enough, right? So like even your if you thought not seer, it's not good enough. You really need Reality Smasher, I think.
Then
Like, even
what
if you
is
dump
the
out a couple
whole-
of 4/4s, like people just cascade into some rhinos and block you, right? Like that's it, right? Like that was your whole game plan. Like they can also pump out like 4 rhinos on turn 3. That's much scarier than your Eye of Ugin thing, right? So
maybe that's why I despise Modern now. If Eldrazi winner is just not good, then like this is terrible.
I see
man.
worse
Like,
Tarmogoyfs, and Tarmogoyf's not good enough. So I'm not sure why these things would be good enough.
Wow, then that means no, then it doesn't matter whatever we're talking about, because then holy cow, this format is miserable. If
I don't want to say Eldrazi wouldn't be good. I think that's going a bit far for me, but
Tier 2, Tier 3.
yeah.
Would it be tier
yeah,
one?
no,
It would be tier
no.
one.
What I mean by that is if Eldrazi is less than tier 1, where are we? I don't want that. I don't want to be there.
Welcome to 2023 Modern, Crim.
No, dude, that's so bad.
Wait, so what's our final votes on Eye of Ugin?
Richard,
I'm
Do
gonna
you
go
care
middle.
about Tron?
I'm
Tron was the other big
middle.
baddie that it gave him inevitability, and it would just Ugin you forever. Or sorry,
Cloud
Willamog.
Post now, since we're unbanning Cloud Post.
Oh, wait,
it might be
that
busted there, yeah.
That might be busted. Summer Bloom
maybe
Cloud
you're
Post.
right.
Oh.
Maybe. Oh god. Am I gonna just say that
right.
Eye of Eldrazi or Eye of Ugin is fine? Yeah. You know what?
Wow, we're all in the middle on this one. I'm
Maybe
sticking
it's
middle.
fine.
I'm sticking
I
middle.
think it's fine.
I'm sticking middle. All
No,
right.
That's so. No, I guess it's fine.
Crim, you love Eldrazi winner. I didn't know that about you.
I didn't like Eldrazi winner. That's the problem.
He played Eldrazi. He's been.
I played it because that's all you could play. It was that or like whatever that standard was, and I was tired of Mardu vehicles. So
Oh. Well, we made it all the way up to the letter E. Pretty impressive delve into the Modern ban list. So there's no way we're already like an hour and 5 into the podcast. So I guess we just cut it here and then return to this in the future. Next time we have a light week without any spoilers or anything, maybe we can finish it one more podcast, because we did group some stuff together. Like there's a bunch of artifact land still on here. So I'm very curious though. You've heard our debates and thoughts on the first half of the Modern ban list. I would love to hear what y'all think in the comments. Are we tripping? Are we off our rockers as far as what cards can be unbanned? Or any of the cards that we think should stay banned? Are they actually safe? What's your opinion on these cards in Modern? Let us know in the comments for sure. Richard, I don't think we're going to get to fish mail this week, but we might next week, which means we could use some questions. Where should people send them?
Yeah, you hit us up on Twitter, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 424 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard, Graham, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about Lord of the Rings spoilers and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.